Emma Rodriguez had always believed in preparation. As a marketing coordinator at Sterling and Associates, she triple-checked every detail, arrived 15 minutes early to every meeting, and kept backup plans for her backup plans. Which is why standing in the lobby of the Grandview Hotel in San Francisco at 11 o'clock at night, exhausted from a delayed flight, staring at a reservation confirmation for one room instead of two felt like a personal betrayal by the universe. "I'm terribly sorry, Miss Rodriguez," the night manager repeated, his fingers flying across the keyboard with increasing desperation. "But with the tech conference in town, we're completely booked. Every hotel within 20 miles is at full capacity." Emma pressed her fingers to her temples, willing away the headache blooming behind her eyes. Tomorrow morning at 8 sharp, she and her boss, James Harrison, were supposed to present a marketing proposal worth $12 million to TechVision Industries. She needed sleep, a clear mind, and absolutely zero complications. "What seems to be the problem?" The deep voice behind her sent an involuntary shiver down her spine. Emma turned to find James Harrison standing there, his navy suit somehow still crisp despite the 6-hour journey, his dark hair slightly tousled in a way that made him look less like a CEO and more like a model who occasionally played one on television. At 35, he had built Sterling and Associates into one of the most respected consulting firms on the East Coast through sheer brilliance and an work ethic that bordered on obsessive. "Mr. Harrison," Emma said, hating how her voice wavered slightly. "There's been a mistake with the reservations. They only have one room available." James's gray eyes flickered with something Emma couldn't quite read. "I see. I've been searching for alternatives," the manager interjected hastily, clearly recognizing the expensive cut of James's suit. "But I'm afraid with the convention, there's simply nothing available tonight." "The room has 2 beds, I assume?" James asked calmly. The manager's expression answered before his words did. "It's our executive suite. King bed, separate sitting area, very spacious." Emma felt heat creep up her neck. This could not be happening. In her 3 years at Sterling and Associates, she had maintained absolute professionalism. She arrived before James every morning, left after him every evening, and never, ever allowed herself to dwell on the fact that her boss had eyes like a winter storm and a rare smile that could light up entire rooms. "We'll take it," James said simply. "Mr. Harrison, I can sleep in the lobby or find a chair somewhere," Emma protested. "You need proper rest for the presentation." He looked at her then, really looked at her, and Emma felt pinned by the intensity of his gaze. "We both need rest, Emma. We're adults. We can handle sharing a room for one night without making it awkward." Famous last words, Emma thought as she followed him to the elevator 30 minutes later, her small rolling suitcase trailing behind her like a reluctant chaperone. The executive suite was indeed spacious, decorated in soothing creams and soft grays. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the San Francisco skyline, the Golden Gate Bridge visible in the distance, its lights twinkling against the dark bay. The sitting area featured a plush sofa, a work desk, and a fully stocked minibar. And there, dominating the bedroom area like an elephant no one wanted to acknowledge, sat the king-sized bed with its pristine white linens. "I'll take the sofa," James said immediately, setting his briefcase down. "Don't be ridiculous. You're 6 feet tall. Your back will be destroyed." Emma dropped her bag and crossed her arms. "I'm 5'4". The sofa is perfectly adequate for me." "Emma, I'm not letting you sleep on a sofa. With all due respect, Mr. Harrison, you're not letting me do anything. I'm making a practical decision." A hint of amusement flickered across his features. "When we're alone, you can call me James." The intimacy of the statement, combined with the surreal situation, made Emma's breath catch. "James," she tested the name on her tongue. "The sofa is fine." "No." He shrugged off his suit jacket, loosening his tie with one hand in a gesture that Emma found far too distracting. "Look, the bed is enormous. We can put a barrier of pillows down the middle if it makes you more comfortable. We both need to be sharp tomorrow." This client could make or break our Q4 numbers. He was right, and Emma hated it. She also hated how aware she suddenly was of being alone with him in a hotel room, of the way his shirt stretched across his shoulders, of the faint scent of his cologne mixing with the room's lavender air freshener. Fine, she conceded. But I'm building the pillow wall. 20 minutes later, showered and changed into her most conservative pajamas, gray cotton pants and a loose t-shirt, Emma constructed an impressive fortification down the center of the bed using every available pillow and cushion. James emerged from the bathroom in simple black sleep pants and a white t-shirt that somehow made him look more human and more attractive simultaneously. That's quite the barrier, he observed, one eyebrow raised. The Berlin Wall of bedding, Emma replied, climbing onto her designated side. Good fences make good neighbors and all that. James chuckled, a sound so rare that Emma had only heard it perhaps 3 times in 3 years. He turned off the main lights, leaving only the soft glow from the bathroom, and settled onto his side of the bed. The mattress dipped with his weight, and Emma found herself rolling slightly toward the middle before catching herself. She gripped the edge of her pillow wall like a lifeline. Emma. His voice came through the darkness, softer than she'd ever heard it. Yes. Thank you for not making this weird. She smiled despite her racing heart. The night is young, Mr. Harrison. I mean, James. There's still plenty of time for maximum weirdness. His laugh was quiet but genuine. Fair enough. Good night, Emma. Good night. Emma lay rigid as a board, acutely conscious of every breath, every tiny sound. She could hear James shifting occasionally, the rustle of sheets, the soft sigh as he settled. Gradually, exhaustion began winning its war against her hyper-aware nervous system. Her last conscious thought before sleep claimed her was that tomorrow's presentation better be worth this torture. What Emma didn't know, as she finally drifted off, was that on the other side of the pillow wall, James Harrison lay equally awake, wondering when exactly his exceptionally competent marketing coordinator had become the woman who occupied far too many of his thoughts, and what he was supposed to do about the fact that having her 3 feet away felt both like the sweetest torture and the most natural thing in the world. Emma woke to warmth and the distinct sensation that something was very, very wrong with her pillow. Her pillow didn't usually have a heartbeat. Or smell like expensive cologne mixed with something uniquely masculine and intoxicating. Her eyes flew open. She was sprawled across James Harrison's chest, one leg thrown over his, her arm wrapped around his torso like he was an oversized teddy bear. His arm encircled her waist, holding her against him with a possessiveness that sent electricity racing through her veins. The pillow wall lay scattered across the floor, casualties of their unconscious bodies seeking each other in the night. Emma's breath caught. She needed to move, to extract herself before he woke and they both died of mortification. But his arm tightened reflexively around her, and she felt the moment consciousness returned to him. His body went rigid beneath hers. Emma. Her name was barely a whisper, rough with sleep. I'm sorry, she breathed, finally lifting her head to meet his gaze. I didn't mean to, the pillows must have fallen. His gray eyes were darker in the early morning light, filled with something that made her mouth go dry. I know. But neither of them moved. They lay there, tangled together, as the San Francisco sunrise painted the room in shades of gold and pink. Emma could feel every point where their bodies touched, could see the rapid pulse beating in his throat, could sense the tension coiling through him. We should, she started. Yes, he agreed. Still, they didn't move. The moment stretched, delicate as spun glass, heavy with 3 years of unspoken attraction and professional boundaries that suddenly felt impossibly thin. Finally, reluctantly, James released her. Emma rolled away, the sudden cold where his warmth had been feeling like a physical loss. She rushed to the bathroom, refusing to analyze the expression she'd seen flash across his face. By the time she emerged, showered and dressed in her navy power suit with her hair pulled back in a severe bun, James was already reviewing the presentation notes, his own armor of a charcoal suit and burgundy tie firmly in place. If not for the slight tension in his shoulders, Emma might have believed she'd imagined the entire morning. "Ready?" he asked, his voice back to its usual professional tone. "Always," Emma replied, matching his demeanor even as her heart still raced. The TechVision presentation was held in a sleek conference room with panoramic views of the bay. 12 executives sat around a glass table, their expressions ranging from skeptical to mildly interested. Emma had learned in her years at Sterling and Associates that landing clients at this level required more than facts and figures. It required telling a story, creating a vision they couldn't resist. As James began the presentation, Emma watched him transform. This was where he truly shined, his confidence magnetic, his insights sharp as surgical blades. When he turned to her for the marketing breakdown, their transition was seamless. They'd rehearsed this presentation dozens of times, but something was different today. They moved in perfect synchronization, finishing each other's thoughts, playing off each other's energy like musicians who performed together for decades rather than hours. Ms. Rodriguez, the TechVision CEO, Catherine Chen, interrupted Emma's analysis of their social media strategy. "I notice you're presenting consumer behavior data from the past 3 months. How do you account for seasonal variations?" Emma didn't miss a beat. "Excellent question. If you'll look at slide 18. She clicked the remote, bringing up a comprehensive chart. "We've actually analyzed the past 3 years of quarterly data, adjusting for seasonal fluctuations, major holidays, and even regional weather patterns that might affect online engagement. The trends remain consistent." Catherine's eyebrows rose with approval. James caught Emma's eye, and the pride she saw there sent warmth flooding through her chest. 2 hours later, they walked out with a signed contract and a $12 million account. "We did it," Emma breathed once they were safely in the elevator. "You did it," James corrected, turning to face her fully. "That analysis of seasonal variations wasn't in our prepared remarks. You improvised brilliantly." "We're a team," Emma said simply. Something shifted in his expression. "Yes. We are." The elevator reached the lobby, and James made a decision that surprised them both. "Let's celebrate. Properly. No client dinners, no business talk. Just dinner." Emma's heart skipped. "Is that appropriate?" "Probably not," James admitted, a rare vulnerability crossing his features. "But I'm tired of appropriate, Emma. I'm tired of pretending." They found a small Italian restaurant tucked into a quiet side street, the kind of place with checkered tablecloths and candles in wine bottles. Over pasta and wine that wasn't from the company expense account, they talked. Really talked, for the first time in 3 years. "Why consulting?" Emma asked, twirling linguine around her fork. James was quiet for a moment, his fingers tracing the stem of his wine glass. "My father built a tech company from nothing. When I was 16, a consulting firm convinced him to take the company public before he was ready. The IPO failed spectacularly. He lost everything. The consultants got their fees and walked away. He had a heart attack 6 months later." Emma's breath caught. "James, I'm so sorry. I started Sterling and Associates because I wanted to be different. To actually care about the clients, to give advice that served them, not just our bottom line." He met her eyes. "That's why contracts like today matter so much. Every success proves we can do business the right way. That's why you work such insane hours," Emma realized. "Why you review every proposal 3 times. Probably why I'm 35 and married to my job," James said with a self-deprecating smile. "My ex-fiancée certainly thought so. Courtney left 2 years ago. Said I cared more about the company than her. Maybe she was right." Emma set down her fork. "For what it's worth, I think someone who truly loved you would understand that your work ethic comes from loss, from wanting to honor your father's memory. They'd support it, not resent it." James's gaze intensified. "And what about you, Emma? What drives someone to arrive at the office at 6:30 every morning and leave at 8 every night? Emma looked down at her plate. I grew up in the Bronx. My parents immigrated from Mexico with nothing. My dad worked 3 jobs so my mom could go to night school to become a nurse. They sacrificed everything so my brother and I could have opportunities they never had. When I got the scholarship to NYU, when I landed the job at Sterling and Associates, I promised myself I'd never take it for granted. Every success is for them. That's beautiful, James said softly. But Emma, when do you do something for yourself? When do you pursue what you want, not what you think you should want? The question hung between them, loaded with meaning that had nothing to do with career ambitions. I don't know, Emma whispered. What if what I want is impossible? James reached across the table, his fingers brushing hers. The contact sent sparks shooting up her arm. What if it's not? The moment shattered when Emma's phone buzzed with a text from Diana, another coordinator at the firm. Heard about your hotel situation. Trevor's telling everyone. Sorry, Emma. Emma's stomach dropped. Trevor Michaels, the senior consultant who'd been angling for James's favor since he was hired 6 months ago, must have overheard something from the hotel staff or somehow found out about the room situation. Everything okay? James asked, noticing her expression. Trevor knows about the room, Emma said, showing him the text. He's spreading it around the office. James's expression went cold. Of course he is. He's been looking for ammunition since I passed him over for the lead on the Henderson account. James, this could damage your reputation. And the company's. I don't care about office gossip. You should, Emma insisted. Sterling and Associates is your father's legacy. I won't be the reason people question your judgment or professionalism. James signaled for the check, his jaw tight. We're not doing anything wrong, Emma. Aren't we? She gestured between them. This dinner, the way we're looking at each other, what happened this morning. There are company policies about relationships between supervisors and subordinates. Even if nothing has actually happened, Trevor will make it sound like it has. The drive back to the hotel was silent, tension filling the car like a third passenger. When they reached their room, the bed loomed large again, but this time for different reasons. I can get a flight back tonight, Emma offered. Create some distance before we return to New York tomorrow. No. James's voice was firm. Running away won't solve anything. We face this together. Together, Emma repeated, the word feeling both thrilling and terrifying. That night, they rebuilt the pillow wall, but both knew it was a futile gesture. The barriers between them were already crumbling, and all the pillows in California couldn't stop what was building between them. As Emma lay in the darkness, she heard James's voice, barely above a whisper. Emma, I need you to know something. What? I don't care what Trevor says. I don't care about the policies or the gossip. But I do care about your career. If pursuing this, pursuing us, would hurt you professionally, I'll walk away. Your dreams matter more than mine. Emma felt tears prick her eyes. She'd spent 3 years watching James Harrison from a careful distance, convinced he was untouchable, unreachable. Now he was offering to sacrifice his own feelings for her success. What if I don't want you to walk away? She asked into the darkness. The silence that followed was heavy with possibility. Then we figure it out, James said finally. Together. Emma smiled, pulling her pillow closer, warmth blooming in her chest despite the wall between them. Together, she agreed. The resolution. The flight back to New York felt shorter than it should have. Emma and James sat side by side in business class, ostensibly reviewing contracts, but mostly just aware of each other. Every accidental brush of hands, every shared glance felt charged with the unspoken agreement they'd made in the darkness. The Sterling and Associates office buzzed with the news of their successful pitch. Colleagues congratulated them, but Emma noticed the looks, the whispers behind hands, the way Trevor smirked from his cubicle. He'd done his work well. "Emma, my office, please," James said formally, and the whispers intensified. Once behind closed doors, he turned to her, frustration evident. "HR wants to see us both. Separately. Someone, and we both know who, filed a complaint about inappropriate conduct on the business trip." Emma's heart sank. "James, I'll resign. This is my fault. I should have insisted on the sofa, or found another hotel, or—" "Stop." He crossed to her in 2 strides, taking her hands in his. "This is not your fault. We shared a room because there were no other options. We conducted ourselves professionally. Trevor is manufacturing scandal because he's bitter and small. But the company policy says that relationships must be disclosed and may require reassignment to prevent conflicts of interest. It doesn't forbid them." James's thumbs traced circles on her palms, sending shivers through her. "Emma, I've been thinking about this all morning. There's a solution." Before he could explain, his assistant knocked. "Mr. Harrison, HR is ready for you." The next 3 hours were excruciating. Emma sat through an interview with Patricia Montgomery, the head of human resources, recounting every detail of the San Francisco trip with clinical precision. Yes, they'd shared a room. No, nothing inappropriate occurred. Yes, she understood company policy regarding workplace relationships. "Emma," Patricia said gently, "I want you to know that no one is accusing you of misconduct. But I need to ask you directly. Do you have romantic feelings for Mr. Harrison?" Emma looked at the older woman, saw genuine concern rather than judgment, and made a decision. "Yes," she said simply. "I do." Patricia nodded, unsurprised. "And does he reciprocate these feelings?" "You'd have to ask him." "I did. He told me, and I quote, that you're the most brilliant marketer he's ever worked with, that losing you would be catastrophic for the firm, and that his personal feelings are irrelevant compared to your professional development." Patricia smiled slightly. "He also threatened to quit if we took any adverse action against you." Emma's breath caught. "He said that?" "He did. Which puts us in an interesting position." Patricia pulled out a folder. "Whitmore and Associates, our Seattle branch, has been asking for a senior marketing director. It's a promotion, Emma. Better title, 30% salary increase, full autonomy over the West Coast marketing strategy. You'd report directly to the Seattle managing partner, not to James." Emma's mind reeled. Seattle? But that's across the country. It solves the company policy issue. No direct reporting relationship, no conflict of interest. Patricia's expression was kind but firm. "However, I want you to make this decision based on what's best for your career, not on your feelings for your boss. This is an opportunity you've earned through your own merit." Emma left the HR office in a daze, nearly colliding with James in the hallway. "What did they say?" he asked urgently. "They offered me Seattle. Senior director position." Something flickered in his eyes, pain, pride, resignation all at once. "You should take it. Emma, that's an incredible opportunity. It's 3,000 miles away." "I know." His voice was rough. "But it's what you deserve. What you've worked for. Is that really what you want?" Emma challenged. "For me to move across the country?" "What I want," James said carefully, aware of the colleagues streaming past them, "is for you to have everything you've dreamed of. Even if that means I lose you." Emma stared at him, her heart breaking and mending simultaneously. "You're an idiot," she said softly. "A noble, self-sacrificing idiot." Before he could respond, Trevor appeared with 2 clients, his expression smug. "Harrison, the Henderson team is waiting in conference room B, unless you're too busy with other matters." The implication was clear and insulting. James's expression went glacial, but Emma touched his arm gently. "Go. We'll talk later." The rest of the day was torture. Emma couldn't focus on anything except the impossible choice before her. Seattle represented everything she'd worked for: autonomy, recognition, financial security to help her parents retire comfortably. But New York held James, the man who'd somehow become essential to her happiness without her quite realizing when it happened. At 7 o'clock, when most of the office had emptied, Emma made her decision. She walked to James's office and knocked. "Come in." He looked exhausted, his tie loosened, his hair disheveled from running his hands through it. "Emma. Have you decided about Seattle?" "I have." She closed the door behind her, her heart pounding. "But first, I need to tell you something. 3 years ago, when I interviewed here, you asked me why I wanted to work in consulting. Do you remember what I said?" James nodded. "You said you wanted to help businesses tell their stories authentically." "That was true. But there was another reason I didn't mention." Emma moved closer. "In that interview, you talked about your father, about building something that mattered. Your passion, your integrity, your dedication. I'd never met anyone like you. I took this job partly because I wanted to learn from you, to be near you, even though I knew nothing could ever happen." "Emma. Let me finish. These 3 years, watching you lead with compassion and brilliance, seeing you fight for every client like their family, working beside you, I've fallen in love with you, James Harrison. Completely and irrevocably. And that terrifies me, because loving you means risking everything I've built. But not loving you, walking away without taking this chance, that terrifies me more." The silence that followed felt eternal. Then James stood, closing the distance between them in 3 strides. "I've been in love with you for 2 years, he said, his voice raw with emotion. "Since the Carmichael presentation, when you stayed up all night redesigning our entire strategy because you noticed a flaw in the data. I came in at 4 in the morning and found you asleep at your desk, surrounded by charts, and I knew. I knew you were extraordinary. I knew I was lost. Then why didn't you say anything?" Emma asked, tears threatening. "Because you deserved better than your boss making unwanted advances. Because I was terrified of losing you if I misread the situation. Because I'm a coward who hides behind professionalism when it comes to matters of the heart." His hands came up to frame her face. "But I'm done being a coward. I love you, Emma Rodriguez. I love your brilliant mind and your generous heart and the way you fight for what you believe in. I love that you keep backup plans for your backup plans and that you secretly cry during insurance commercials." Emma laughed through her tears. "You notice that?" "I notice everything about you." His thumb brushed away a tear from her cheek. "If you want Seattle, I will support you completely. I'll visit every weekend, we'll figure out the distance, I'll eventually see if they need a managing partner out there. But if you want to stay, we'll navigate the company policies together. Either way, I'm not letting you go without fighting for us." "I don't want Seattle," Emma whispered. "I want you. I want this. I want to build something together." "Are you sure?" "Emma, that position is." She silenced him by pulling his face down to hers and kissing him with 3 years of pent-up longing. James made a sound of surprise that quickly turned to pleasure, his arms wrapping around her waist and lifting her against him. The kiss was everything she'd imagined and nothing like she'd expected, sweet and desperate and perfect. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, James rested his forehead against hers. "I have a counter-proposal to Seattle. I'm listening. Sterling and Associates is expanding into digital marketing. We need someone to head the new division. Equal partnership status, same salary as Seattle, but you'd be your own boss. My boss, technically, in digital matters." He smiled. "You'd report to the board directly, not to me. No conflict of interest, no policy violations." Emma pulled back to look at him. "That position doesn't exist." "It does as of this morning. I proposed it to the board during lunch. They approved it unanimously. The offer is real, Emma, regardless of what happens between us personally. You've earned it. You created an entire division for me. I created an entire division because this company needs it and you're the only person brilliant enough to run it, James corrected. The fact that it solves our relationship problem is a convenient bonus. Emma laughed, fresh tears streaming down her face. You really are an overachiever. I learned from the best. He kissed her again, softer this time, reverent. So what do you say? Will you take a chance on me? On us? On one condition. Anything. Next business trip, we book 2 rooms. James grinned. Deal. Though I should mention, we have a conference in Boston next month. 2 rooms, Emma emphasized. 2 rooms, he agreed. That will probably only use one of. They were still laughing when Patricia knocked on the glass door, her expression amused. I take it you've discussed the digital division offer, she asked after they'd reluctantly separated. She's considering it, James said diplomatically. I accept, Emma corrected. On the condition that we follow every protocol regarding our relationship disclosure. Patricia smiled. Already prepared the paperwork. I'll need both of you to sign off tomorrow. She paused at the door. For what it's worth, I think you two are good together. Just try to keep the office gossip to a minimum. After she left, Emma turned back to James. Everyone's going to talk. Let them, James said, pulling her close again. I've spent 3 years caring too much about what people think. I'm done with that. You're worth any amount of gossip. Even from Trevor. Especially from Trevor. In fact, I'm looking forward to his face when we announce your promotion. James's expression turned serious. Emma, I know this is fast. We can take things slow, figure it out as we go. I've been waiting 3 years, Emma said, wrapping her arms around his neck. I think we've been slow enough. 3 months later, Emma stood in her new corner office, looking out at the Manhattan skyline. The digital marketing division had launched successfully, already bringing in major clients impressed by Sterling and Associates' forward-thinking approach. Her parents had visited last week, her mother crying with joy over her daughter's success, her father quietly proud. Knock knock. James appeared in the doorway with 2 cups of coffee. Thought my business partner could use some caffeine. Your business partner accepts gratefully. Emma took the cup, savoring the perfect preparation, 2 sugars, extra cream, exactly how she liked it. James had been true to his word. They'd filed all the appropriate relationship disclosures, maintained professional boundaries in the office, and supported each other's careers equally. They were partners in every sense of the word. So, James said, setting down his coffee and pulling a small velvet box from his pocket. I know we said we'd take things slow. Emma's heart stopped. James. But I've realized something. I wasted 3 years not telling you how I felt. I don't want to waste another day not being completely honest about what I want. He opened the box, revealing a simple but stunning diamond ring. I want forever with you, Emma. I want to build a life as amazing as what we've built professionally. I want to wake up next to you every morning, preferably without a pillow wall. I want to face every challenge together. So, Emma Rodriguez, will you marry me? Emma looked at the man who'd given her space to grow, supported her dreams, loved her fiercely while respecting her independence. She thought about that hotel room in San Francisco, how fate had pushed them together when they'd been too scared to take the leap themselves. Yes, she said, laughing and crying simultaneously. Yes, absolutely yes. As James slipped the ring on her finger and kissed her with the passion of a man who'd finally stopped holding back, Emma thought about how sometimes the best things in life came from the most unexpected circumstances. A booking error, one bed, and the courage to admit what your heart already knew. From his cubicle, Trevor Michaels watched through the glass walls and sighed, finally accepting defeat. In the corner office down the hall, Patricia Montgomery smiled, crossing another successful match off her secret list. Sometimes HR work was about more than policies and procedures. Sometimes it was about recognizing when two people were perfect for each other and giving them the space to figure it out themselves. And in the Bronx, Emma's mother received a text with a photo of a diamond ring and a simple message: "Mama, remember how you always said everything happens for a reason? You were right." The response came immediately: "I knew I liked that boss of yours. When do I get to plan the wedding?" Emma laughed, showing the message to James, who groaned good-naturedly. "Should I be worried?" Terrified, Emma confirmed. "My mother has been planning my wedding since I was 5. Hope you like mariachi bands and approximately 400 guests. As long as you're there, I don't care if we get married in the middle of Times Square with a flash mob." "Don't give her ideas," Emma warned. They stood together in her office, watching the sun set over Manhattan, the city lighting up with millions of dreams being chased, millions of love stories being written. Theirs was just one among many, but to them, it was everything. Sometimes, Emma reflected, the best professional development came from taking personal risks. The best partnerships were built on trust, respect, and the courage to be vulnerable. And sometimes, the worst possible situation, like sharing a hotel room with your boss, turned out to be exactly what you needed to find everything you'd been too afraid to reach for. She looked at James, at the ring on her finger, at the life they were building together, and smiled. "What are you thinking?" James asked, pulling her closer. "That I'm glad there was only one bed," Emma said simply. He laughed, the sound filling the office with warmth. "Me too, Emma. Me too." The end.